Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Rabbit and Red Reviews. Today we're going to be talking about Four Roses single barrel strength. Before we get into the nose, palate, and finish review like we normally do for this bourbon, I'm going to explain a little bit about the Four Roses single barrel strength selection process and what these four letters, OESV, actually mean. So when you go to your local liquor store or grocery store, you'll always, pretty much anywhere, find a bottle that looks like this. This is your standard Four Roses single barrel bottle. Like I said, it's about $40, give or take. You can find this almost anywhere. A really, really great pour. That is bottled at 50% alcohol by volume. The difference is, if you take a look at this bottle again, it says barrel strength. This is actually at 54.7 ABV. And you'll notice right here, it says OESV. So what does that mean? So as part of their barrel pick process for liquor stores around the country, Four Roses actually offers 10 distinct recipes for their single barrel bourbons. The standard release, which again I said is bottled at 50%, is recipe OBSV. But there are, as I mentioned, 10 variations on this. So what do these letters mean? So just to revisit, the O in the recipe just signifies that it's Four Roses. The E can actually change. So it can either be E or B. E indicates a low rye mash bill. So in the case of the one that we're going to be talking about today, which is OESV, this is 75% corn, 20% rye, and 5% malted barley. Compare that to the standard single barrel OBSV. The B is their high rye mash bill. So it is 35% rye, 60% corn, and 5% malted barley. Moving on to the S. So the S is much like the O, is always the same on any of the 10 recipes. The S just lets you know that it's straight bourbon. And finally, the V. And this is actually where there are 5 different variations. And what the V actually indicates is the yeast strain that is used for the recipe. So there are 5 distinct yeast strains that Four Roses uses for their single barrel strength selections. The V actually is supposed to indicate a delicate fruit yeast strain. There's also a K, which is a slightly spicy yeast strain. There's an O, which is a more rich fruit yeast strain. There's Q, which is a floral yeast strain. And then finally there's an F, which is an herbal yeast strain. So as you can imagine, you can find 10 different versions of this recipe. Some will be OESK or OBSQ, for example. Each have their own distinct flavors. And like I mentioned, perhaps your local store is a place that is part of their barrel pick process, and you can find these awesome barrel strength versions of their single barrel. They're highly recommended. They're pretty much all delicious. But today we're going to explore the OESV version. So just to start, this is again 54.7% alcohol by volume. It is a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. So this is their low rye mash bill and their delicate fruit yeast strain. So let's give it a pour. If you want to take a look at the color here, this is always natural colored, as the case with bourbon. Kind of like you can see a dark red, copperish hue to this really good looking bourbon. This one in particular is aged for 9 years and 8 months. Pretty much any of these you find will vary between a 9 to 11 year aging process. So starting with the nose, immediately I am getting a little bit of the rye spice, despite this being the low rye mash bill. It's definitely there, along with cinnamon, Other baking spices as well. There's a little bit of clove in this. Heavy vanilla, definitely vanilla, caramel. A lot of your kind of standard bourbon notes, but it's got a very rich, deep nose. So there's a lot going on in this glass. A little bit of alcohol burn. I mean, it is 54.7%, but not overpowering in any way. I'm also getting a creaminess, a creamy smell. So I mean, you're thinking like more red fruit. There's definitely some apple. Definitely getting apple. Maybe like a honey, maybe a little bit of raisin as well. All in all, really enticing nose on this. So let's give it a taste here. So immediately, creaminess, caramel, it's like whipped cream, which is blending really, really nicely with some of the baking spices that I mentioned. So you're definitely getting cinnamon. There's clove, nutmeg. The fruits are really actually bright in this as well. Apple. So similar to what we got off the nose. It's a pretty full mouthfeel. Really kind of coats the mouth. Delicious on the palate. Delicious. On the finish here, we're definitely getting some medium finish. It's hanging around for a little bit. Vanilla really asserting itself. Still a bit of that spice hanging around. That creaminess as well. Just really, really delicious. So as I mentioned again, Four Roses, really pretty standard bourbon you can find pretty much anywhere across the country in the US. They have a couple different parts of their core range. Their yellow label, which is their standard bottom shelf entry bourbon, which is still really good, great mixer. They have a small batch, which is also delicious. And then, as I showed you earlier, their single barrel, which is one of the better single barrels, standard single barrels you can get. But this barrel strength version really takes it up to the next level. These flavors are really strong. Four Roses operates out of Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. Been around for quite some time. They also have a lot of special releases that they do, and a couple that they do annually, and then just tons of different other limited editions that always get a lot of praise. I'm going to put a little bit of water on this and see if we get any difference on the nose and the palate. Okay, so the water has opened this up a little bit. You can tell right away. I'm getting kind of a gingerbread type smell, almost like somebody was just baking gingerbread in your house. Really, really good. The bright fruits are still there. I'm almost getting a little bit of a ting of citrus, almost oranges. Still really, really great on the palate. The water did bring down the heat level a little bit. The spices in the background are a little bit subdued. Really top line on this, the kind of creaminess, really strong bourbon notes. The hint of spice is just kind of carrying it through, evening it out, and those bright fruits are standing up a little bit stronger here with a little bit of water on this. So as far as price goes, the single barrel strengths can vary. These are probably within that $60 to $80 range. Can be a little bit difficult to find, so you really got to search around the shops in your area to find the local folks who are part of their Barrel Select program. But if you get the chance and happen to come across these, it's definitely worth it if you're a fan of Four Roses or single barrel bourbons in general. You can't go wrong with this. I'm going to give this a solid 4 out of 5. Definitely recommend picking yourself up a bottle. just keeping in mind, you know, the higher alcohol does mean higher flavor, but you are going to get a little bit of that extra heat and burn on it. So this one is only aged 9 years, 8 months. It might be interesting to see, you know, how much deeper in the flavor you get when you have the chance to find one that's aged even older than this. So just one more quick look at the bottle. It's your standard presentation. The label's a little bit of a brighter gold to signify the single barrel strength line as part of the private selection process. It does give you the alcohol by volume. It gives you your warehouse number and your barrel number, just like they do on the standard single barrel Four Roses. So that's it. I hope you all get the opportunity to try this or any of their other recipes, and would love to hear any feedback you have down in the comments. So with that, feel free to hit the subscribe button, and we'll catch you next time here on Rabbit and Red Reviews. Cheers.